here for a tour, and we hope that you will get all that you came from a successful understanding of the Black to Rap Museum. So you give us your undivided counsel to follow the plan that we have. So thank you for being here. I need to understand which city or state you are from.
Chester, Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Chester, Pennsylvania. Am I right? Very good. Welcome to the Happy Happy. You need your undivided attention as you move through this. And you want to be filmed as you move through. Mr. Loretta, who's with the camera in the back. So don't be misled. Don't be misled. And we have no issues with this. Right. Let's move forward. And here's our little tour guide who's going to tell you about what you see here in this lobby of the National Big Black and Black.
Now, how are you guys today?
Hello.
My name is Michelle Quickwood. I'll be your docent for this part of the exhibit today. But before I start the tour, I want to give a thanks to the Martin family. They are the founders of the Great Black Race Museum. That's Dr. Alma Martin and Dr. Joanne Martin. They were the founders for this foundation right here, the foundation we're standing on today. So now we can start the tour for today, for this exhibit today. For starters, I'm going to start with the father of Black History Month, which is Carter G. Wilson. He graduated high school at 22 years old. He got a bachelor's degree, he got a master's degree. He also got a PhD in philosophy. He also went on to teach. He was a principal. He was a supervisor. He taught English, Spanish. He also taught different cultures, which is the Philippines. He taught a lot of different stuff. He tried to make a difference in life, which he did, because as you can see, everybody is this is Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois, the great black sage. He was a founder for the NAACP, which started the Niagara movement. First started as the Niagara movement, and then he went to New York City and became the NAACP. This is again Dr. W.E.B. Du Bois. Behind you guys is the military genius, which is Hannibal. He fought with 32,000 against 80,000 in Calvary. He won with his strategies. And till this day, they still use a lot of his strategies to fight in like Iraq and the Navy and stuff like that. I know it's kind of impressive, but it's a lot of stuff that they hold on to. And stuff that they happened in the past, they felt like it could be used in the future, which is a good thing because it has helped. It has become a big help. And to go on to Bessie Coleman, she was the first black woman to become a pilot, because you cannot be a pilot in those times in the United States, but she had to go out there in order for her to accomplish her dreams and what she really wanted to do. So she became the first black woman to ever become a pilot. She also traveled from state to state, flying around before she passed away, which she passed away in a flying accident in the air. And again, I would like for y'all to thank Dr. Alma and Joanne Martin for making this possible today, for you guys to have a tour at the National Great Black Race Museum. And I had co-workers back there as well that would tour you guys for me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, come on.
She can put them away for you when you come out.
Let me get past this. Morning, gang. Excuse me. Look that way. Over there, say.
Excuse me.
What's your
What's everybody?
Yeah, that's everybody, John.
Okay, good morning, everybody. And I want to start off by saying welcome to the National Great Blacks and Whites Museum. My name is Donald Meredith, and I'll be your tour guide for this section of the museum. If you look over it this way, you have a bale of cotton, and these are what the slaves were required to pick every day. So slaves did physical labor, and when they were doing their labor, they would pick stuff like cotton, tobacco, and sugarcane. This specifically right here is 500 pounds, and these are what grown men were required to pick. Women were required to pick 250 pounds, and adolescents between the age of 8 and 12 were required to pick 125 pounds, which is a quarter of 500. If you look over here, you have an act known as forced feeding, and a lot of the slaves, they were going hunger strikes, and they would starve themselves to death because they'd rather die than do the harsh physical labor of slavery. So what the slave owners would do is they would break their front teeth in, and they would mix cornmeal with water to create mush, and they would force it down your throat. If this didn't get to you, they would move on to some punishments. This right here, we have the iron collar. This collar right here has spikes inside of it, so when you would turn your neck, it would kind of cut your flesh a bit. And this torso part right here also had spikes inside of it, so when you were moving, you had to be very careful. Right here, you can see the bells. These bells kind of serve two purposes. One purpose was to let slave owners know where you were, and one big part of slavery, it wasn't just the physical labor that they were doing, it was about the mental and mind control. So hearing these bells would kind of scare the other slaves into doing the right thing. Or not necessarily the right thing, but listening to the white man. Here over here, we have the iron mask, and it was only enough space for you to breathe, so they would often leave you in here for hours, days, and maybe even weeks until you died if you didn't comply with what the slave owner wanted you to do. So if you didn't listen, this was like a form of punishment, and if you didn't comply, you could possibly die. Here over here, this right here is the cotton that they be picking. As you can see, it's very spiky, and it has a lot of thorns. And there were no gloves when they were picking them. So when they would pick the cotton, by the end of the day, they would have blood all over their hands, and often they would get infected. Right here, the stuff on his back, they're known as keloids, and they were a result of him being whipped too many times. Eventually, when you get whipped in a specific area, you'll start to develop these lumps, and they're known as keloids, and they're very painful. Follow me into the slave ship. Oh, and I just want to say, look at the slave ship, you'll notice that there are nets around the slave ship. Often what slaves would do is they would jump overboard because they didn't want to come to the Americas because they were scared of what might happen to them when they got there. So often a lot of them would jump overboard. And in order to prevent that, people on the ship would often put nets around the ship to prevent them from jumping over. I know it's not a lot of space, so just try to crowd together, just so there's enough space for everybody.
Let me get a chance to get you in the frame. Okay. Where are you going to stand?
I'm standing right here.
How many of y'all have, if you have a mom, raise your hand. Imagine if that was your mother. That's why it's nothing funny about it. Imagine someone beating your mother, taking a hot iron and then placing it upon her skin, burning her down to the white meat until it hurts. That's what branding is. Everybody say branding. Branding. Come on, big guy.
So branding, like you said, they would take a piece of metal and they would heat it up, and often on the metal would have like a symbol or like a family crest to let somebody know that you belong to this specific slave owner. That it's very painful. They would leave it there until the marks did, and this right here, this is another form of punishment. It wasn't comfortable at all. They would often leave you in here for hours, days, maybe even weeks until you did what the slave owner told you to do. Follow me into the other end of the slave owner.
You can move through. You can.
Try to move through.
You born of war. Look, despite all that they did, we still strong. Okay. We don't die. We lost.
You can keep moving through. Yep.
Don't touch anything.
Yeah.
I think you should move through a little bit more so the others can
Do
get
not
you.
touch anything.
You guys can take pictures, just don't touch the wet figures. They're very fragile and they can break.
Can you let the other cameraman get in?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. We're trying to show what a great job he's doing.
And y'all see this?
So alright, so a lot of the devices used during the time of slavery was all about torture. So if you look right here, you see there's a paddle. And these paddles have holes for a reason, because when air circulates through an item at fast speeds, it'll create more pain. This right here, we have a whip. And this right here, this is also a whip, but it just has multiple strands to it. This right here would be one of the pieces of iron they would use to brand with. And if you look closely right there, you can see initials. And also, the initials would usually represent a specific family that the slave or slave owner owned. Right here, you have so what they used to do is so they used to stuff your body in a barrel, and they would have all the other slaves watch, and while the other slaves were watching, they would cut your head off. The whole purpose of that not only was to serve as your punishment, but it was all about mind control. So it would kind of scare the other slaves into doing what the slave owners wanted you to do. In the slave boats, there were different sections. You had the men's quarters, the boys' quarters, and the women's quarters. That white man right there, his name is Falcon Bridge, and he was Alexander Falcon Bridge, and he was known to be the worst of his crew members because at night he would sneak into the women's quarters and he would put stuff in their mouth, and at night he would rape them. Over here, if you look closely, you can see the conditions are not comfortable at all. They were often stacked on top of each other, so most likely, if one of them got sick, the rest would get sick, and if one of them died, it was also possible that the rest might also die. There was a lot of diseases and rat infestations going on, because they came from Europe, so they came from Europe to Africa to take the slaves, and during this time in Europe, there was a lot of disease going around, and there was a lot of rat infestation, and a lot of the disease and rat infestation was brought onto the boat, which caused a lot of sickness and death spreading around the slave ship.
Can we let this camera guy get up front a little bit? Go through Lorenzo so you get in front of him. Excuse me.
If you look over here,
I'm sorry,
there were some rebellious slaves.
Oops.
Most were successful. So as punishment, they would have some of the other slaves watching, and they would torture you in front of everybody else, just as like a way to scare the rest of the slaves. This right here is called libation, an offering to ancestors. It's kind of like when you have a communion at a church, but this was like an African tradition. So the purpose of this tradition was to honor an ancestor or a person that you loved or honored. So what you would do is you would pour water into the little cups, and you would recite the little phrase. I pour libation in the memory of, and then you'll say the name of an ancestor or a person you honor or love who you lost, and you would like to remember.
Everybody understand? Any questions?
Yeah.
Does it look scary?
Yes.
Is it a little concerning? We wanted you to see this because, as I said to you guys when we first walked in, you're going to see a lot of history from this standpoint. Do you understand me?
Yes.
This is they're talking about times of slavery. But I want y'all to all know this and never forget this. You come from great kings and queens. This is not the start of our history. This is just a part of our history, what we've been through. You hear what I'm saying?
Yes.
Say, I come from
I come from
kings and queens.
and
All
queens.
right, let's march on. Queen Mimi, how you doing?
Gotta push forward. Thank you. Get up front because
Okay, all right.
Rachel.
What I do?
Yeah.
You guys are going into the African room right now, and then y'all come back out.
Okay. Go ahead. Let me get up there.
So they can get past you.
Can we? We're trying to shoot her.
Yes. No, I was trying to make sure all the kids come.
Oh no, I know, but
You don't want the kids to just be winging it.
Okay, is everyone here?
Not yet. Not yet.
they're not all in yet.
Alright, this wasn't fit. Okay.
Come on, babies. Come on.
Just remember, we can edit anything, so don't worry.
Okay.
Just come on in. Come on in, everybody.
Okay, is everybody here?
Everybody's here? Okay.
Okay, hi, good morning. My name is Tanaya Nash. I will be your docent
Listen.
for this exhibit. This exhibit is the African room. The African room is our ancestors who are in North and South Africa. Welcome to the Great Blacks and Whites Museum. And now I will begin. Our first exhibit, or our first statue, is Imhotep. He was known as a great architect who designed the pyramids of Egypt, and he was also an the god of medicine. He studied many things in the medical field, and he has helped us get to the field that we are today. This is Shaka. This is Shaka Zulu. He is the ruler of Zulu Nation. He protected slaves or potential slaves from getting enslaved by slave traders and to be captured by slave masters. He was also a great warrior, and he protected his people, although he was ruthless and he cared less, and he was more fight and less compassion. He had his people plotted against his assassination, but they never followed through because they realized how much of a great ruler he was to his people. This is Queen Anne Nzinga. Queen Anne Nzinga was a warrior also, and she provided a safe place for people who were trying to protect themselves from slave owners and slave traders. And she often stood by her gate, ready to fight anybody who was coming into her nation. This is Hashput. She was the queen of antiquity. She often dressed as a pharaoh because she didn't like the image and to be called a female, because females weren't supposed to be rulers of their nation, but she reigned for 33 years, and she did it with pride and iniquity. Okay, I don't know how I'm supposed to get over there.
I'll go this way. So you guys go that way.
I know you got questions. I'm carrying this kid, let him walk. Okay.
This is Akhenaten. He was the pharaoh and king of his land, Akhenaten. He was the father of monotheism, and he believed that under one God there could be 3 different religions: Judaism, Islam, and Christianity. He later passed, and he gave his land and his kingdom to his wife, who was known as Queen Nefertiti. Queen Nefertiti was known by many, many people. A lot of people in this room should know who she is. She was known for her remarkable beauty, and her name was the beautiful woman Hesper. Many people who liked her beauty, they often copied or replicated this bust of her face, and they just showed her beauty, and she was to reign over his land after his passing. This is Makeda. Makeda had several appearances in the Old Testament of the Bible. She was known in the Quran and the Bible, and she reigned over Sheba, her land, and it later fell because the emperor passed. Okay, I don't know how I'm supposed to get over there.
Just
Everybody step this
say,
way.
move away.
Excuse me. Okay. Oh God. Oh Jesus Christ. Alright. These are the principles of Niyat. These were the customs that Africans had followed because of their pride and their inequity to their own people, and these were what they followed, and this is what they became accustomed to. This is the colors that signified Africa. Do you know the colors? Okay. Red was to signify the amount of fights and the amount of things that they went through to get their freedom, and the blood that was shed to achieve that. Black is to signify our culture and heritage, and to signify that black is beautiful, and that is what we are. And green was to show the amount of wealth that Africans had and the amount of natural resources that they had, such as oil, ivory, ebony, diamonds, iron, and all of that. But that is the African root. I know it's small, but thank you so much for listening to what I had to say, and I hope that you enjoyed yourself. If you want any more information, you can read the signages and read the principles of Niyat. Thank you so much.
Any questions?
Do you have any questions?
Kasim, you have a question?
That is the African society now and before the people, the slave traders ambushed
You have a question,
our
Aiden?
society, and they were all so strong and they were cooperative, so they had done many things together, and they were driving as a nation before they came, and they saw their potential, so that's why the slave traders decided to keep them.
Aiden, what's your question, son?
Snake.
Where at?
There's a snake right here.
What does the snake mean? He wants to know what the snake means with the
The little
pharaohs.
cobra down here.
That's not related to it, but it's known as a serpent.
Mhm.
It's a snake.
It's kind of just a decoration.
It's just decoration.
Well,
Yeah, no, he's looking at this
It did
coil.
hold significance during the time of Egypt. What
Yeah.
I want all of you to notice is, do you notice this statue right here? You see how beautiful it is? You notice that all the statues you see when they do the documentaries on TV, that their noses are missing because they didn't want people to know that they were people of color. I went to an event in University of Pennsylvania, and I asked the orator, were the people in Egypt were people of color? He told me no. He said the sand blew on their faces and made them dark. But I want you to know that we culturally, and once again, we come from what? Don't you ever forget that, because these are great leaders, great. Who knows? I'm gonna test real quick. So we got it. Who knows what monotheism is? What is it?
believe in one God.
Study of one God. Excellent. So that means the study of one God. So look who brought that about. Talked about it. Isn't that important? So you know, I know what you saw on the ship, but there's a whole history before that. Okay? Come on, y'all.
Is there someone in here? I thought we were supposed to go back.
I don't know. Are we?
Yeah,
I
I
don't
think
know.
we're going to go back the other
Are we
way.
supposed to go back the other way, or which way we going?
Ask the tour.
No, not that way, Eden. Okay, sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. Come on. Because this leads us back here. We're going back that way, gang.
They say go this
Go this way. Are we going this way?
Oh, go this way? Is there somebody here?
Stand
Okay.
right here. Come over here.
Well, let me see if
We can
someone's in
walk
here.
through. Come on, stand over here.
Yeah, but we need a tour guide.
This is very good.
There's nobody.
Bullock and I work with the tour guides.
Hi, Miss Bullock.
Is there a tour guide in here?
Okay, I'll do that.
Oh, you're going to do it? Okay.
Okay, now, come on over.
Come on in, babies. Come on, come
Come
on.
on in.
Don't go in there. Just come in here.
And because once we leave this area, we go into the political room.
Yes.
And thank you for being here.
Thank
This
you.
is called the entrepreneur room. Anybody can tell me what an entrepreneur is?
I got two.
Yes. A person who owns their own business. And so that's what, and what you see in here, you see only men. But they're great women entrepreneurs. But because of the spacing, before you leave on the other side, you're going to see women entrepreneurs. And I want you to think about a person whose name is Damien John. And he started a business in the basement of his home in New York, in Long Island, New York, between Brooklyn and Long Island. And he started that business. And that business was called the FUBU Brothers. And what does FUBU stand for? For us, repeat after me. For us and by us. And so he started that. And raise your hand if you're a male in this group. Raise your hand if you're male. You made that group wealthy because they made T-shirts like you're wearing and caps like his. And you bought them up like hotcakes. And that brought wealth to that organization. And you can see Damien Johns, he comes on television, he's still living, very wealthy. He's a multimillionaire. He's published a book showing other people how to start their businesses and being successful. But we're going to move on. These are men, they're not entrepreneurs, but they were concerned about black boys who were not completing the school, getting into trouble, and they wanted to get them on the right path so they could be successful. And if they wanted to be an entrepreneur, they would help them do that. I want you to take a look at this man here. His name is Reginald Lewis. He was the first black billionaire in the United States. He grew up right here in East Baltimore. In East Baltimore here, he started when he was 10 years old, being an entrepreneur. He got up at 4:30 in the morning. He took a notepad, pencil, and some paper, or the notepad and paper, and he traveled all over East Baltimore. He would deliver newspapers. And the money that he got from delivering those newspapers, he saved that. At age 10 on up. Not only was he a good entrepreneur at early age, but he was very smart in school, junior high they called back then, and high school. He went to Dunbar High School. And Dunbar High School was the school, the black school here in East Baltimore. If you live on the west side, it was another name over there. And so my point is, it's important to understand, years ago, but that doesn't exist anymore, there were many students who had to attend Dunbar High School if you lived here in East Baltimore. So by the time he got in high school, he was the person who was the leader of the football team, the basketball team, and the baseball team. He was an A student, and his goal was to go to Virginia State to get his higher education. He saved all the money that he had collected, and he was able to go to Dunbar. But he also, because he was a straight A student, he got a scholarship playing football. But the first year he was there, unfortunately, he had a fall, and he couldn't continue that because of his accident. But he did not stop. He said, when I finished Virginia State, and he was able to do that, I want to go to the highest law school in the land, and that's Harvard University in Massachusetts. He was able to go there. When he finished Harvard, he said, I want to become a lawyer. So I want to become a lawyer. And so if you turn around and look at the wall, that's him signing a contract. And one of the first contracts he sold, he hit up, was McCall Pattern. And ladies like to make dresses, and etc. He purchased that for $22 $1,000. He sold it for $90,000. That's called success. And so unfortunately, in 1993, he had an accident, and he developed a brain tumor. And of course, that brain tumor shortened his life. But we remember him as the first black billionaire in the United States. He left $6,000 to make sure that we could build a museum called the Reginald Lewis Museum of Maryland down at the Inner Harbor. Okay? All right, let's move on into the political. Come on in, please. Move on in.
We got more room in here.
Come on, there's plenty of room. Come on over here.
Over that way, over that way.
I want the students to do this, but I don't see anybody nearby. Should I continue or?
Yeah, I think they're all in. Yeah.
All right.
We're all in. Are we all in?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, this is called a political room, but not everybody in here is a politician. And because of space, we have people who are great in other areas. For example, you see the great educator, Miriam Cosby, who started a college in Torrington, Florida. She grew up in Maysville, South Carolina, and moved to Florida. She found that black kids were learning and reading and writing, so she started school in her home. And that grew and grew and grew. She wanted to start a college. She only had $1.50 in her pocket. She took that money, traveled that little bit, traveled around in that area, and she was able to get enough money to start a college called Brooklyn